Hey all, this is Zephyr Specs again. This is a new deck that I have come up with. The idea behind the deck is a Simic based deck that's green and blue that doesn't rely on Merfolk tribal affinities. Merfolk decks are very common. Um, they have high win rates generally. There are some Merfolk in this deck, but it doesn't rely on Merfolk tribal affinities. It has to do with proliferating, well, not the mechanic proliferate, but proliferating +1/+1 counters on creatures and then transforming them or moving them to another creature. The new adapt mechanic is a primary mechanic in this deck, as is explore. This deck list is actually not complete. My land base is not finished, and also biogenic ooze. I only have 2 right now because it's a mythic rare and I don't have any more wild cards, but I would probably take out these 2 growth spirals for a biogenic ooze. Wild growth walker gets counters whenever another creature explores, or whenever it explores too. Enter the unknown. Target creature explores. It might get a counter, it might get a land into your hand. But I also run 4 Open the Gates. This card just gets a basic land in your hand, but it thins lands from your deck so that when you do explore, you have a higher chance of getting a card that will get you a +1/+1 counter. Plus, it's good to have those lands in your hand because Enter the Unknown also lets you play an additional land. So if you have extra lands in your hand, you can play them when you enter the unknown. Jade Light Ranger Double Explore. On this top row also you see Shark to Crab. It has Adapt. It's only Adapt 1, but if you put counters on it, whenever you put 1 or more counter on it, you get to tap one of your opponent's creatures and it doesn't untap during the next untap step, hopefully buying you time to exile them with incubation incongruity. Galloping Lizrog is the main finisher in this deck because say you swing with your creatures, then at the end of, or in your second main phase, you can play Galloping Lizrog, and it has trample naturally, and whenever you put +1/+1 counters on it, you take them from other creatures, they go onto Lizrog, and it doubles them. And now the creatures that had Adapt can now Adapt again, because they don't have any counters on them anymore. Let's see how this deck plays. And you'll get to see Biogenic Ooze in action. It spawns oozes and gives them counters. I'm going to show off 2 games. They both reached their conclusions pretty quickly. This first game, you'll get to see Biogenic Ooze in action. You see my opening hand here, 2 lands, Llanowar Elves, Open the Gates. These are all good early game cards, so this is a pretty good hand. Forest, Elves, ideal green deck opening. And now I have Growth Spiral in my hand, but I don't have another land to play, so I'm gonna fish for a land with Open the Gates instead. Taking a forest. I probably should have taken an island, but it works out in the end. Now I'll play Growth Spiral, because I can put the land I just got onto the field. And turns out searching for a forest was a good idea, because I played another Llanowar Elves. So I have choices here, but I'm gonna go for the big play, Biogenic Ooze. When it comes onto the battlefield, it will make another 2/2 ooze, and then at the end of every end step of mine, it puts another counter on both itself and all other oozes. At this point, my opponent concedes. So my opening hand, I've got 3 lands and Llanowar Elves, so that looks good. Incubation, Incongruity, the card that just came into my hand. Oh, I have 2 of them actually. It's a very versatile card. For 1 mana, it's draw support. It can get a creature out of your deck from the top 5 cards. For 3 mana, it exiles target creature and leaves a 3/3 token in its wake. So, both purposes work really well for this deck. I can't make full use of Wild Growth Walker yet. I don't have any Explore cards in my hand. But I'm gonna play it anyway. Hopefully I'll get some Explore cards and be able to put some counters on that. Well, my opponent exiled my walker, but it was kind of a decoy. I mean, I didn't have any Explore cards anyway. Shark to Crab. Good 4-drop. So that Planeswalker is a problem, but Shark to Crab is gonna come in clutch here to nullify my opponent's only blocker if I adapt and put a +1/+1 counter on it. I can then use its ability to tap that white creature. It won't untap during the next untap step, and it can't block, so my Shark to Crab, which will now be a 5/5, can swing and kill the Planeswalker.
Better watch your back from here on out.
Scary looking enchantment. Luckily, I think this game won't go on too much longer. I fumbled here for a second before realizing that I should swing the Shark to Crab before I played Galloping Lizfrog, because the Lizfrog will take counters off of Shark to Crab, but it will be able to double them. And now Shark to Crab is free to adapt again. So adapt again. I'm gonna tap the white creature because it leaves a black flyer as the only available blocker, and then forces my opponent to choose between destroying their best creature or taking 10 damage directly. And that's it. That's game.